Hello, I'm going to talk to you today about one of my favorite things, which is coffee. It is one of my favorite drinks to have every single morning, and also something I like to go have to treat myself a little bit too. According to a Harvard study, the coffee industry is worth $40 billion each year. 54% of adults drink coffee each day, and of those 54%, they drink on average 3.1 cups of coffee per day. The industry itself is interesting to me because as a business major, I like to look at the statistics and see really how big of a commodity it is for our society. So we're going to talk a little bit first about the history of coffee and where it came from. We're going to talk about the different types of beans, and then we're going to talk about how those beans are roasted. So to get started, we're going to talk about the history. Coffee was first discovered by an Ethiopian goat herder in the 11th century. It made its way by the 15th century to the Arabian Peninsula, where it was often enjoyed like we enjoy it now in coffee houses with music in the background and live entertainment. It was called the wine of Araby according to the National Coffee Association. In the 15th century, it made its way to Persia, Syria, and Turkey. And by the 17th century, it made its way to Europe. By the time it made its way to Europe, though, a lot of people were skeptical because the side effects, they said, resembled satanic side effects. So even though there was a lot of skepticism, the drink was still widely popular. In the 18th century, it made its way to the New World, and this little thing called the Boston Tea Party was going on about the same time. And so a lot of the New World settlers were going to coffee for their morning drink instead of tea, for the main reason that the British king had put such a harsh tax on tea that it was too expensive that they could afford. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the different types of beans. There are two types, mainly, that are used in coffee today: the Arabica bean and the Robusta bean. The Arabica bean is a little bit less caffeinated and more bitter, but it's more popular widely and is grown in South America all the way over to Kenya and anywhere in between. The Robusta bean is much more caffeinated, a little bit darker, and grown in Asia. The two types of beans are often blended together in different ratios to make some of your favorite blends that you buy at the store today. So for your coffee roast with these two types of beans, you can see that the bean is picked green. It has a very grassy smell and a very light texture. They're put into specialized ovens where they are rotated and turned as they're cooked so that they get a nice even cook on every side of the bean. So the first round of beans that you're going to get is your light roast. Those are a little bit lighter in flavor. They're a little bit more aromatic. And then you get to your medium blend beans, where they're a little bit darker, but still a little bit lighter in flavor. And then you get to your dark beans, where you get a little bit more chocolatey and rich and bold flavors. A lot of people think that when the darker the bean, the more caffeine, but that's not really always the case. In fact, it's been proven in some cases that the more toasted a bean gets, the more caffeine it loses. And the flavors often differ based on the region in which the bean was grown. So a Kenyan light roast may be very different than a Guatemalan light roast. It just all depends on the region and what type of climate it's raised under. So to recap a little bit, we talked about the history of coffee, how it got from the 11th century, from being discovered by a goat herder, all the way until it made its way to the New World. We talked about two main types of beans, the Arabica and the Robusta bean, and we talked about the roasting process and the different flavors that you get from that process, from light to dark. I hope you learned as much as I did researching about this topic. I hope to personally expand my horizons in my coffee drinking, and I hope you are able to do the same. Thank you.